Today on New England Living, it's all about the great outdoors. We're heading to southern Maine to go oyster farming in the Nonesuch River. And in Kennebunkport, we'll explore the world of glamping at one of New England's most renowned campgrounds. Then we head to Southern Rhode Island to check out life on a dairy farm. Plus, we'll introduce you to a Massachusetts-based nonprofit bringing urban neighborhoods together through the power of art. It all starts right now on New England Living. New England has a style all its own. The people, the history, the culture. Join us as we discover the faces and places, the design and destinations, everyone and everything that makes New England extraordinary.
This is getting a little spicy.
Love the place you call home with New England Living. Thank you for joining us on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. We're starting off today's show in southern Maine to go oyster farming with a former stock dealer who traded her life in high finance for a life on the high seas. Located in Scarborough, Maine, Abigail Carroll is the founder and owner of Nonesuch Oysters. Your background is so fascinating to me because you went from having a graduate degree from Columbia University, trading stocks in Paris, and now you have an oyster farm. How did you get here?
Well, I was living in Paris. I came back for the summer and I met somebody who wanted to start an oyster farm. So I thought, okay, well, I'll help out with this business plan. The one sort of thing I said before I agreed to it was, but I'm not getting on the water. 10 months later, I was buying waders at Cabela's and the farm was mine to run. Today we're producing between 500,000 and 1 million oysters a year. We're expanding into other seafood products that we're now shipping to people's homes. We do tours. We're trying to share the Maine experience with the rest of the country. I had never run an outboard motor before. I'd never eaten an oyster before. I'd certainly never envisioned myself as a farmer before. It was a steep learning curve, but over 10 years, I've actually gotten the hang of it.
I can tell you have such a passion for what you do. What's your favorite part about oystering?
It's this beautiful experience. You're wading in the water. Sometimes you wear a snorkel and you can see all the little hermit crabs, all the other little sea life living together and how they exist together. It's just very zen, beautiful experience to be out there hand-culling oysters.
What separates Nonesuch oysters from other oysters?
What's interesting is that everybody on the East Coast, from Canada all the way into the Gulf, is growing the same species of oysters. So there's really only two things that make the difference for any brand of oysters. One is the method of farming. The second is the environment. We have salt and freshwater influences that are very distinct and very prominent. So we've got a real nice blend in both of our oysters of salinity and sweetness. Sweetness from the marsh, the brackish water that comes down, and salinity from the incoming tides. So every year we buy new seed, just like any land farmer. They're actually baby oysters, which are commonly known as spat. When we get them, they're just a couple millimeters, and then they grow pretty quickly. And by the end of the summer, they should be like a solid inch. Those baby oysters especially love warm water, and the more flow that an oyster gets, the faster it'll grow.
And by the looks of it, there's a lot of these little guys in here.
So we brought in 2 million oyster seeds this year.
Wow.
So that's our biggest crop. For the first year, all of our oysters spend a year on the surface in gear. And then the second year, we split them up into two groups. The Abigail pearls stay on the surface, and the Nonesuch emeralds are finished on the bottom. Water quality is everything with oysters because oysters are filter feeders. They nourish themselves by filtering water and absorbing the nutrients. The marsh all around us serves as a giant filter. So it keeps the water incredibly clean here. These are the oysters that we've ground seeded after the first year, and they grow free range until we're ready to harvest them.
Okay, I see a bunch around me. It's easy to see why you call them emeralds, because they have this beautiful green color that I can actually see from here. So let me pick a couple of these. Look at those. I've never seen an oyster look like this before.
These little microalgae attach to the shell, and you can't scratch this off. This is actually a real patina. And I just thought they were so beautiful that we decided to grow some of the oysters this way. Our Nonesuch emeralds have a really nice flavor profile. They have a lot of earthy sweetness that comes from just being on the bottom. They're a little meatier than the pearls, and they're a little sweeter than the pearls, and they have these little earth tones that are really, really spectacular. They're a really special oyster. These fluted bits are indicative of a high current area. We have crazy high currents here, which are wonderful for oyster growth. You can start to see these kind of growth rings. You see little rings, but you can see some more prominent differences in the rings, and those suggest years. These are the Abigail pearls. By the fall, we will be able to start harvesting some from these bags. We have to flip them with some regularity because they get fouled by algae. By flipping the bags, the sun dries up all the algae, and then when we flip them back over, it can wash away. The Abigail pearls tend to grow a little bit more narrowly because they have neighbors, whereas the emeralds are loose on the bottom, and so they can fan out a little bit more easily. And interestingly, on flavor, I mean, it's a more delicate oyster than the emerald, which is a little bit chewier, but there's such an earthy taste to the emeralds that you don't taste the salt as much, whereas the pearls have a very clean, briny flavor to them.
After a long day of harvesting, it was finally time to taste our haul. Abby, this is my kind of picnic, and in terms of freshness, it won't get any better than this.
We've got a nice little display here of our Abigail pearls and our Nonesuch emerald. I love to serve oysters with lemon, but I also love to serve them with a mignonette sauce. You add basically 1 part shallots to 2 parts or 3 parts vinegar, and you're good to go. The acidity of the vinegar is really nice with the salty of the brine and the oyster. So it's a really, really nice pairing.
So next up, I'm guessing, is shucking the oysters.
Right.
I've never done this before, so do you mind teaching me
I
how
don't
this
mind
happens?
teaching you at all. It is finesse, not force. Another little saying we have is wiggle, wiggle, pop. You want to hold the oyster with that hand.
Okay.
And just get in there.
Wiggle, wiggle, pop.
Wiggle, wiggle, pop.
Ooh, there we go.
Very good. Now
Okay.
slide the knife under the lid to, right,
Okay.
to release the meat.
Okay.
That's the adduction.
There it is.
Wow,
Yes,
perfect. Yours is
okay.
better than mine.
It's hard to believe those 2 oysters, you grew them just within feet of each other.
Exactly. It continues to blow my mind. But these are, again, the same species, the same year oyster, the same seed, and just by treating them differently in that second year, they grow into truly different oysters. It's so exciting.
Okay, well, bon appetit.
Cheers. Bon appetit. Thank you.
Coming up after the break, just south of here in Kennebunkport, we'll introduce you to a campground bringing luxury to the outdoors when New England Living returns. Welcome back to New England Living. I'm Rachel Holt. Say goodbye to sleeping bags and lanterns, and hello to linens and electricity. This is the world of glamping. Nestled in the woods of Kennebunkport, Maine, Sandy Pines Campground is the brainchild of co-founder Tim Harrington.
Glamping, glamorous camping, is inspired by going on safari in Africa, and so these are really safari tents. What we've done is try to elevate it to the hotel level. You see these kind of luxurious king-size beds. We have air conditioning, mini fridges, living spaces to hang out, original art, places to play games, these great outside spaces, maid service, made-up beds. You check in, you put your bags down, and you just hang out.
As far as the area around this campground, what does it have to offer?
So you're in Kennebunkport, one of the most important travel destinations in the Northeast. You have a spectacular beach within walking distance, incredible biking, great restaurants, boating, kayaking right here from the property. If you don't want to do anything, you just chill out in nature. Sandy Pines is almost like 4 campgrounds in one. So we have our glamping area, then we have regular RV area, then we have tent area, and then we have the unique retreats. I think as unique as a campground, and even as a hospitality company, we have an art director. We have an in-house designer, and that's probably not a usual thing, but that shows how much we care about design. And Krista's always moving and tweaking, and what she can do with $200 on a Saturday morning at a flea market is unbelievable.
From their renowned glamp tents to what they call unique retreats, there's something for everyone at Sandy Pines. All right, we've seen the glam tents. I don't want to leave, but
Yes.
we are.
Hi, base camp.
Hi.
Look at these trees. Look how gorgeous it is here.
It's beautiful. The unique retreats, we're heading that way, and these are very popular here.
They are. These are absolutely unique. So this is a 1972 Airstream. It's very, very special inside. Krista, our designer, refers to it as Mrs. Maisel Goes to the Lake. This one has a built-in queen-size bed. It has a living room, and it's not just about the accommodation. It's about your whole site. Look at this lounger over here. You can spend all day in there with books and your outdoor fire pit. You're looking out here at the marsh, the back of Goose Rocks Beach. This is a 62 fan trail trailer that's been completely renovated inside, and these are mostly off the road now and have fallen into disrepair, and so it's so fun to bring one of these back to life. Kids love staying in these. This is true vintage camping. When you walk inside, you feel like you're walking back into the 60s. So it has the bed over in this section here, which I'd say is probably a full-size bed, this little mini kitchenette over here, and then a sitting area. It's pretty special.
This place is obviously perfect for couples, but there's stuff for kiddos too.
For sure. So families, of course, love Sandy Pines, and this is one of the things that they really love. This is a family camp cottage. There's an area out here for the parents, and then behind is bunk beds and almost like a little camp bedroom for kids. And I think this is a good example here. You'll find this all over our property that Krista's assistant, we call him Tim Twig, he's out in the woods all the time finding like this natural art. So you'll see pine cones as decoration, twigs, you see twig chandeliers.
There's little touches of nature everywhere, but there's also AC.
Yes, air
and
conditioning.
amenities like that.
Maine is known for hot days and cool nights, but sometimes not so much, so you just crank that on and it's icy cold.
Lending a creative eye to many of the distinctive details of this glamp ground is interior designer Krista Stokes. Krista, what's very apparent is the attention to detail that you place on all of the sites that you design, and there's little knickknacks everywhere, which I think is so fun.
I think one of the best parts of the job for me, and one of my favorite things about it, is that I get to put these little moments for people to happen upon. I get to hide feathers in books, put a little nest up on a rafter, and just hope that some years later that they will smell something, see something, and that we can incorporate as part of their own memories. So this is one of my favorites, and I would love to show you.
I'm ready. Let's go.
We kept it relatively simple in here and tried to keep respect of the architecture of the space, but as with the other places, we have put in the amenities that might prevent you from going camping. What we really want you to do is to chill out, unplug, and really get into the spirit of it.
So Tim comes to you, he says, I want you to make this prairie wagon chic. How do you even start?
Well, I probably don't need to tell you there's not a lot out there for prairie fashion, but it was fun. It was really, really fun. And so I just set to collecting things that I thought were reminiscent of that era or of a simpler time. And it's really something special. I mean, this view is really something else, and you have to stay in this thing to get that.
There's something about getting out into nature and your blood pressure comes down and you start to just kind of chill naturally, but you're going to have an experience like you've never had before.
Coming up, it's real food from real cows, how one farm is redefining fresh. That's next when New England Living returns. Welcome back to more New England Living. When it comes to better dairy, happy cows make all the difference. We're heading to North Smithfield, Rhode Island to introduce you to a local dairy farm and bakery that's been in business for over 100 years. Wright's has been family-owned and operated since 1914, including fourth-generation dairy farmer Clayton Wright.
Right now we have approximately 150 cows here on site. We're milking 120 of those, and the other 30 are what we call dry cows. They're pregnant, they're getting ready to have a baby, so they're not giving any milk right now. They're on vacation.
I imagine that's a lot of milk produced in 1 year. How much milk comes out of this farm?
So right now here we're averaging about 88 pounds per cow.
Wow.
On the cow side of the business, we talk about milk in pounds versus the dairy side we talk about in gallons. And that'll give us approximately 10,000 pounds of milk per day.
What makes a happy cow?
A happy cow is a cow that has plenty of clean, fresh food, clean, fresh water, and then a comfortable environment. She lays in a nice sand stall. Sand stays cool, no bacteria can grow in sand, so she keeps a clean body. We have 16 52-inch fans in the barn, keeping the cows cool on a day like today. That's very important.
These cows get pedicures monthly, so they are living in luxury here.
We call it a pedicure, but it's more of a maintenance for the cows. I mean, cows have nails like you and I do, and they do not wear down naturally as if they were out in the natural environment. So we have a hoof trimmer. He comes in and he trims their hoofs and keeps them nice and clean and tidies them up for them once a month. So here at Wright's we have what's called a double 10 parallel parlor. The cows will come in the parlor from one side and they'll turn sideways. They'll turn 90 degrees and they'll be lined up in the parlor. When those cows come in, they have like a pedometer around their neck. It reads their ID, and that number gets put into the computer, and it corresponds to how much milk that cow gives. Once the milk is harvested from the cow, it goes into a 2,000-gallon bulk tank. On a typical farm, that milk would be picked up by a tractor-trailer truck and brought to a processing plant. For that milk to get to our processing plant, it just gets put into a pipeline and gets brought right up to our dairy, 200 feet away.
Clayton, one of the great things about your farm is you don't have to worry about where your cows are getting their food from because they're getting it from here.
Yeah, correct. All this corn you see around us right here, all that corn is going to be made into what's called corn silage, and we store that corn to feed our cows for the full year. We work with an outside nutritionist. Based on how much milk they're making and how old they are, she will create a recipe for those cows. And we take both those ingredients, the corn, the hay, and we have a complete mixed grain, which is kind of like their vitamins and their minerals. And that all goes into a wagon, kind of like a giant mixer, and that creates what we call a TMR, a total mixed ration.
Helping oversee operations is fourth-generation co-owner Ellen Puccetti, whose great-grandfather started the farm over 100 years ago.
When my parents took over in the 70s, they decided that they were going to start a bakery for added value. We use anything that we can from the cows, the milk, the cream, and we use it to make fresh custard for eclairs and pies. Pies was the first product that we started making here, and I remember as a little kid standing next to the stove while my mother was making the puddings, and we would have to help stir the pudding.
The cows are just steps away. How does that factor into the final taste of the finished product?
Well, we can control the taste of how the milk is by the feed, by how we care for the cow, and how we process the milk here. And that regulates the flavor, keeps it a nice, fresh, sweet flavor. What they take from the cow today could literally be on the shelf tonight. So that makes the taste fresh and delicious every time.
Is there one item in particular that people seem to drive miles and miles to get that one thing here?
Well, I think it's the experience. People want to come here, they want to see the cows. The cows are literally steps outside the door here, and they know that the products are fresh and that they can get those fresh products and they taste so great, and they want to support a local business.
Kate Kennedy is 5th generation at Wright and runs the Wright Scoop, serving fresh ice cream from a vintage Airstream trailer.
Because our products are starting and ending on farm, we have a really short production time. So milk comes from the cows, it gets pushed up to the dairy the next day. We're doing whatever we need to do with that milk either that day or the next day, and then products are available to customers. So within 24 hours, you could be getting a gallon of milk that the cows produced the milk the day before. You're not gonna find that at the grocery store. There's just so many added steps in that supply chain. It makes for a great cup of milk to drink, but it also translates into super fresh ice cream that's delicious tasting. We're talking a lot about our products and how fresh they are and how great they taste, and I think the best way to just really see the difference is to taste the difference. So we'll go try some stuff.
Okay, let's go. This is the moment I've been waiting for to try the ice cream. I want a gallon, but I guess I'll start with a cup maybe of the vanilla. Sure. Yeah. And you said this is the most popular flavor, right?
Yes, vanilla by far, always a favorite.
First of all, wow. Some people might call this the boring flavor, but this taste is just really standing out to me. It's not every day you get an ice cream that's creamy and it's smooth. You can really taste the difference here. This is amazing.
Thank you.
I know they say happy cows make better tasting milk. They clearly make better tasting ice cream, and I'm very happy after eating this.
We want happy cows and happy customers.
Coming up after the break, how one nonprofit is strengthening communities through art when New England Living returns. Welcome back to New England Living. Based in Lynn, Massachusetts, hear how one nonprofit is helping revitalize neighborhoods through the power of creativity. Born from a passion for volunteerism, Beyond Walls was created in 2016 by founder and CEO Al Wilson.
Business owners, managers, and the residents here, they wanted an increase of the walkability throughout the downtown. And really, when you peeled that onion back, there was insufficient lighting under underpasses as well as pockets of the downtown, as well as a real desire to have public art. So the mission is to activate space to strengthen communities. We take a creative lens to addressing what is community-fed issues or challenges.
Carlos Prudencio is a high school student in Lynn and interns for Beyond Walls. What makes you so drawn to working at Beyond Walls, where there's such an emphasis on artwork?
It's the message, it's the community behind it. It's my culture reflected into the community. I'm not an artist, but I appreciate art and I know the power of art and I know that the message that it can send. So that's why I'm here. It's for the message, it's for the community.
Beyond Walls' annual Street Art Festival is a 2-week block party bringing locally and internationally renowned artists to downtown Lynn.
The artists are really selected based on their cultural identities and how those match up to this community, and then obviously their talent. When they're here, the community comes out and supports them. We jokingly say that the artists that are involved during our festivals and our street art installations all gain weight, because it's a party under every wall. There's a lot of barbecue, there's a lot of food. It's real community support.
Colombian artist Felipe Ortiz joined Beyond Walls for their 2019 Street Art Festival.
For me, it's very humbling to interact and integrate my art to this community, and I saw a lot of diversity. I wanted to reflect some of that with some iconic representation of Colombian culture. As an artist, I think it's a great way to give back to the community.
So I wanted to show you this one because it's a bit of a fan favorite with the kids. It's by Bordalo 2, and he works with trash. He came here, cut up plastic that we'd collected, and then tied it into this wall and made this really cool mouse.
I see a skateboard, I see a steering wheel. This is absolutely incredible.
He could visually see it in the recycled plastic, cut the pieces, cut them all out, and then got on the wall and created this. So one of our larger pieces is by an artist named Smug1, who lives in Glasgow, Scotland. The subject of the piece actually lives in this building. And so the piece is called The Resident. He did that piece in about 5.5 days. And he didn't have a sketch. He got up there and he free-handed this piece.
It's not just about the murals, you also do a lot of lighting installations, and this has a little bit of both.
We had 11 pieces of vintage neon artwork, and this is one of those pieces. This Eggomat self-service sign was for a self-service egg dispenser that lights up this parking lot now, this corner, right next to a piece by an artist from the Netherlands named Leon Kerr, as an ode to the shoe industry that was here. Did these shoe boxes, some of which obviously are empty to signify that the industry has actually left the city.
In walking around Lynn, there's pretty much a mural everywhere, it seems like. How many murals in total are there?
We've actually done 72 murals by 58 different artists in 4 cities, the majority here in Lynn.
As far as the impact on the city, what have you noticed?
So there's an economic boost, which is crucial. And then you can have diverse groups meeting in front of a piece. They start a conversation, and then they walk on to take on another piece together. And that's always pretty powerful to see.
Thanks for joining us on New England Living. For more on the show or anything you've seen here today, visit us at cbsboston.com/New England Living and follow us on social media. And don't forget to check out the latest edition of New England Living magazine on newsstands now.